Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Farm Bill Fridays on Facebook Live. My name is Rochelle Sparko, and I am the Policy Director at the Carolina Farm Stewardship Association. We are here this week with 5 things you need to know about the first draft of the 2018 Farm Bill. So, the first thing you need to know is it's here. The new Farm Bill is here. The Farm Bill, a draft of the Farm Bill, which we've been talking about for the last, 6 weeks or 7 weeks now, called the Chair's Mark, was introduced yesterday at about lunchtime. It is over 600 pages long, so it's a pretty hefty piece of legislation. And the second thing that you need to know about the Farm Bill this week, we're moving right through this stuff, is that we'll be doing a deep dive of what's in it in the coming weeks. Because it's so long and sort of complicated to read, and I'll talk a little bit about that shortly, it's going to take us some time to figure out exactly what all the impacts are on agriculture and sustainable organic local agriculture in particular. That's what we'll be focused on as we take a look at the Farm Bill in the coming weeks. There are a few things that we do know already from a quick scan of the over 600 page bill that I will share with you right now, because the third thing that you need to know about the Farm Bill this week is that there's a hearing next Wednesday. So let's talk for a minute here about what that means and what the process actually is for the movement of the Farm Bill legislation right now. So with the introduction of the Chair's Mark, the chair being Mike Conaway, so that was, again, introduced yesterday afternoon, it starts a pretty quick clock, and there will be a markup of the Chair's Mark in committee, in the House Agriculture Committee on Wednesday, starting at 10 o'clock in the morning. So what does all of that mean? Markup is when members of the House Agriculture Committee actually get to talk about and introduce amendments to the Chair's Mark, the bill that was introduced yesterday afternoon. And the timing on that is short, so thank you all who are joining us this Friday morning, and for those of you who will be watching later today, because we've got a lot of work to do in a very short amount of time. So the way that the process works during the time period between the introduction of the Chair's Mark and markup, right, so since yesterday afternoon and until Wednesday at 10, is that members of the committee have a chance to look at the bill, and so do members of the public like us, and offer amendments. Obviously, we as the public can't offer amendments, but we do encourage our members of Congress who serve on the Agriculture Committee to offer amendments that we like. And a big, huge package of amendments will be compiled together and needs to be complete by Monday night. And to give all of the members of the committee a chance on Tuesday to look it over, and then to talk about it in committee on Wednesday, starting on Wednesday morning. So what does that mean? It means that we need you all to work with us here at CFSA to make sure that our members who serve on the House Agriculture Committee, and in North Carolina we have 2 members that serve there. None of the members in South Carolina serve on Agriculture Committee, so we'll be asking all of you to make phone calls to the members of the House Agriculture Committee who are based here in North Carolina to talk with them about changes you'd like to see in the bill. So let's see. We would like you to know, the fourth thing we think you need to know this week about the Farm Bill is that you can take a look at the text yourself. We've got a link here, a shortened link, http://bit.ly/CFSA Farm Bill. If you go to that link, which will be placed in the comments so you don't have to memorize it yourself, you can go take a look at the bill yourself. And here's where I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about what you'll see when you look at the bill, because it's a little confusing if you've not done this before. So what the Farm Bill, or the Chair's Mark, does is it takes a look at a previous Farm Bill and amends it. And so it's hard to read by itself. You need to take a look at the previous Farm Bill and read this bill side by side with the previous Farm Bill that it's working off of in order to figure out when it says, subsection C, eliminate paragraph 2B6. You're like, well, what does that mean? So you have to go back to the previous bill and look at paragraph 2B6 to see what they're eliminating. So it does take a bit of time to figure out exactly what's happening in the bill, but we do encourage you to take a look at it. There are big swaths of it that make dramatic changes to the bill, and those dramatic changes you can actually just sort of read through and get a sense of what's happening. For more minor changes or for complete elimination of programs, you just kind of have to look back and forth and see what's in and what's out. So what are some things that are actually in or out? Let's talk about it, but first we're going to talk about the fifth thing that you need to know about the Farm Bill this week. Do you want up-to-the-minute alerts on when to act? Please sign up for our action alerts. This has never been more important than it is right now. The Farm Bill is a piece of legislation that lasts approximately 5 years, and so the things that are in and the things that are out will have an enormous impact on sustainable, local, organic agriculture for the next 5 years. And we only have a couple of days to let our members of Congress know which pieces of the chair's mark are really intolerable for us, and to encourage those things to be altered in the committee hearing on Wednesday. We will have another chance. Of course, there's going to be a separate version of the Farm Bill on the Senate side, and we know that it will be different from the version that has been introduced by Chairman Conaway on the House side. Why do we know that? Chairman Conaway's bill is an extremely partisan document because of the changes that he made to the nutrition title. Remember, we've been talking about titles and their buckets of issues. One of the things in the nutrition title is SNAP or food stamps. And he was not able to get any Democrats on board for the changes that he wanted to see to the SNAP program. And because of that, a lot of the things that Democrats wanted to see in the bill are not in there because they refused to work with the chair if he was going to be making changes like that to SNAP. And so the bill is basically written in such a way that no Democrat will vote for it. And we think it is also written in such a way that there are a number of Republicans who are pretty far to the right who will also not vote for it because it doesn't go far enough to make some alterations. And we know that on the Senate side, they are working on a bipartisan bill that will not include similar cuts to SNAP, and so Democrats are still on board. So we know the two versions are going to be different, and we know that that will mean that eventually the Farm Bill will go to a conference committee. That's not unusual. A conference committee will be made up of members from both the House and the Senate, and they'll get together and talk about which things stay in and which things come out in order to get to a bill that both sides can agree on. So we will have more chances to weigh in, but it is really important, I think, for all of us to weigh in over the next 3 days or so and let our members of the Agriculture Committee know that there are pieces of this that are not okay with us. And so this is where I'm going to get into some of the things that have been changed. I'm going to specifically focus on things that we've talked about in previous editions of Farm Bill Friday. There's more stuff in there that we do care about, and so again, please do sign up for action alerts so that we can give you instructions about who to call and what to say when you call. But for those of you who just like to watch the video, I do want you to know kind of how this chair's mark fits in with our previous episodes. So in previous episodes, we talked about the horticulture and specialty crop title. And we talked about some programs that are vested in that title to help develop local and regional food systems, and also to support the organic program. That title took a pretty big hit in this Farm Bill, or in the chair's mark. The Farmers Market Promotion Program and the Local Food Promotion Program were both eliminated completely from the title. Both of these programs have done a great deal to develop farmers markets around North and South Carolina, to help develop regional supply chain that helps smaller scale and mid-scale farms get into wholesale markets and also direct to restaurant markets. With the elimination of those, we think we'll see a slowdown of the development of the regional and local food markets in both states and around the country. The bill also eliminated something called the Value Added Producer Grant, which has been a piece of the Farm Bill for, I think, 2 or 3 Farm Bills now, and basically provides grants to farmers to invest in equipment or marketing materials to add value to the products that they're raising on their farm in an effort to make sure that more of their dollar stays with them. oftentimes when you turn berries into jam, you can sell the jam for more than you would sell the berries, as one example, or you can get more money for pickles than you can for the cucumbers that make those pickles. And so by helping producers to add value to their products through that grant program, they've enabled farms to stay in business or expand their operations. So that program has been completely eliminated. We also saw the complete elimination of something called the Organic Certification Cost Share Program. Basically what that did was it helped to offset the cost for farmers who obtain organic certification. Every single year, those farmers have to have an inspector come onto their farms and check to make sure that they're complying with organic standards, which are set by law. And it costs somewhere between $1,000 and $1,500 per year for farmers to do that. And this particular program helped to defray that cost. It didn't eliminate it completely, but paid for up to $750 of that cost. So it makes it more expensive now for farmers to be engaged in organic production. In the credit title, which I think we talked about last week, we talked about raising loan limits and why we had some concerns here at CFSA about raising loan limits, particularly around operating loans, right? So when you raise the loan limit on those operating loans without making the pie bigger, there are fewer slices of pie, and some of those large-scale CAFO operations are likely to get access to more credit through the FSA, the Farm Services Agency, for loans, and shut out smaller scale and mid-scale growers just because the pie isn't any bigger, and as soon as one of those big CAFO loans comes through, there's less money available. So unfortunately, we saw in the credit title the focus of FSA loans moving to serve larger farms and CAFOs by raising the loan cap. So we're disappointed to see that. We were also really disappointed to see, you may remember back in our conservation title conversation, we talked about CSP. CSP, the Conservation Stewardship Program. You'll remember we put some water and some soil into our title bucket, and that program has been completely eliminated as well. Actually, let me rephrase that. That program has been completely eliminated, but there is a talking point coming out from the committee that it's been rolled into a different conservation program. But in fact, which is called EQIP. We at CFSA support both programs. We love that EQIP exists. We really like that CSP exists. CSP is like next level conservation practices. Conservation practices that are actually adding value back into the environment as opposed to just trying to sort of hold the line. EQIP tends to be holding the line, making sure we're not damaging the environment as we engage in best management practices. CSP funded farmers to engage in practices that improved the environment on their farms and in their communities. So the two programs have been rolled in together, but most of the practices, in fact, maybe all of the practices, we're still figuring that out, that were part of the CSP program have been eliminated, so they haven't really been rolled together, which is something that we're really disappointed by. Some great things, it's not all sadness, some great things that are in the chair's mark include increased funding for agricultural conservation easement programs. So we talked again in that conservation title about conservation easements, which help make sure that working lands, working farms stay in agriculture even as they face some development pressure. We also saw the Organic Agriculture Research and Extension Initiative receive some increased funding, which is great. We haven't talked about the research title on this program yet, but one of the things that we've been working really hard for a number of years is to increase the amount of funding that goes into research that will benefit organic farmers, and so this would do that. We also saw some increased funding for FINI, or the Food Insecurity Nutrition Incentives Program. FINI grants do help to connect farmers markets, local food supply chain into feeding programs, essentially. And so we're glad to see an increase in funding there. However, there is a lot of concern right now that the increased funding for those three programs is coming out of very harmful cuts to the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, the SNAP program that we talked about a few minutes ago. So pros and cons in the Farm Bill. We'll be keeping an eye on it very carefully here at CFSA. Again, please do sign up for our action alerts. The link to do that is in the comments below. We will need you guys all working the phones, sending emails. Unfortunately, we'll need you doing some of that over the weekend and certainly on Monday, because by close of business on Monday, the manager's amendment, that big package of amendments that's going to be a part of the conversation on Wednesday at the hearing before the House Agriculture Committee needs to be done. So we've got a pretty short timeline. So please do sign up, work with us here, make some phone calls. Let's try and get some of these programs back into the Farm Bill for the benefit of local and regional food systems. We'll be back again next week talking about what happens on Wednesday at that hearing. And we will, for the foreseeable future, be talking deeply about what changed in the Farm Bill, in the mark from last time's Farm Bill, the 2014 Farm Bill. So keep it tuned here, and we look forward to seeing you all next Friday, and hope that you all will give us a thumbs up if you're planning on making some phone calls this weekend or on Monday. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next Friday.